Like we're live.
All right. Hi, everybody, and happy Friday. It's Rebecca and Aidan at the Dry Eye Foundation, and just a little weekly update with what's been going on here and what we're up to. Let's see. Aidan, do you want to go ahead and dive into your stuff? And
Sure.
then go back on a couple of news things.
Awesome. I was just opening the links you'd put up, but let me go here. All right. So Rebecca, you just had a support group meeting this morning. I was just going to say that in the new software, it's been interesting. I've been sending out the emails and I can just see who's clicking on links and kind of get a better idea of what we're looking at in terms of attendance and everything. So it's been kind of fun. It's just easier than our old system to see what engagement we're getting. And I guess that really came up when I was thinking about our members only email lists. We've been sending out early release videos or one early release video and just one of our Dry Eye Bites newsletter to the members. And it's nice to see that people are opening those. So for anyone that doesn't know, you can become a member of the Dry Eye Foundation. And I'll just share my screen here. We are facing a little bit of a budget crunch with some conferences that we're planning on going to next month. But I've been happy to see that the memberships have kept rolling in. We're building our numbers here. So what's my def? And here you can become a member on our site, dryefoundation.org. And we'll see if this works. Yeah. So we have a few different options. You can do a monthly donation or a monthly membership fee. Standard is $10. You can choose your own, or you can go for the annual for $90 a year. And you can even have it set up to be recurring. And I believe we have a few different payment methods. But anyways, just all part of our new system. And just going to be a little scattered here. I just wanted to talk about the Dry Eye Helpline and just the small part I play in that. I've scheduled a couple consults for Rebecca this week, but one of the calls today I had just turned out to be someone who needed to speak to people who got it. And I think we just kind of made that connection really quickly of understanding what she was going through. She was like, I just don't even know anyone else in my life with dry eye. She liked her doctors and the practice that she was at, but didn't feel like she was quite getting enough. So just being able to talk through things, and I can't remember exactly what we talked about, but oh man, it was like computer related during the pandemic, moving everything on Zoom. She sounds like she's a teacher or something and just can't even connect with people over Zoom because it hurts too much to look at the screen. So
that was one of the groups of professionals that I worried about the most with the pandemic. I remember those first 6 months especially, and all of the extra time everyone was having to put in. So it wasn't just that your daily work is moving to Zoom, but it was you had to figure out how to teach via Zoom and put in all that extra online work. And so there's just like people had no eye time left for anything after all of that. It was just a really hard thing.
Yeah, so it's been kind of 2 years in running for her, and sounded like she's just things have been getting a little harder, and even had trouble opening her eyes sometimes after she blinks just because they're that dry. So I just looked up the local Sienna dealers in her area, said that you could talk about that more with her on Monday, but that just popped up as a thing to just prepare her for.
Yeah, speaking of the helpline too, keep experimenting with different ways to organize the schedule for that. Just trying to make it work with everything else that we try to cram into a limited number of hours in the day. And the current iteration is basically I'm setting aside the entire day Monday for the call so I can just focus entirely on talking with people and following up on little projects and research and things that we get going, trying to support people with their various needs.
Yeah, so we'll always look forward to hearing about those too. It's nice when we get to catch up about different calls. Yeah, we've had a couple this week where it's just like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder what Rebecca will say on that one. Also wanted to talk about the survey that we sent out yesterday. I never got a maybe I did. I think I did a while back to review the questions, but it's been a while
Never
since I
got
looked
what?
at that. The questions for the survey, but
Oh, uh-huh.
I think I remember I may have gotten them a while ago. So the only thing was that there was just a glitch with the gift cards that they were offering. I've been talking to the survey organizer kind of on the side, but
Just
they're
by way
waiting.
of background, in
Yeah,
case people are wondering
yeah,
what survey we're talking about, this is a research project by Brown University and the University of Colorado, and a team of people that we've worked with in the past on some dry eye surveys. And one of the points of it is to get really high quality research done on issues that are of practical interest to us, not just the medical side, but what living with dry eye means to us and what helps us and what doesn't. On the purely practical side, and getting the high enough quality studies based off of input from the community done that they can get published in high impact medical journals, and just kind of trying to balance out the sum total of research out there on dry eye to be speaking not just to the purely medical and the tear film and the meibomian glands and all of that, but what does this mean to us in practice? And this particular survey was focusing on things like environmental modifications, just like what Aidan was just talking about with the Sienna glasses. I mean, which to us is a staple, right? We put a thing on to protect our eyes and increase the humidity around our eyes, and it improves our comfort, reduces pain levels. But that's not something that's well known out there in the medical world. It's not something many people hear about from their eye doctors. So we're trying to get this kind of information out there into the medical journals where it will get attention amongst those who we'd like to know more about what really works for us.
thanks for explaining that. And just trying to think if there's anything else on my end.
I just following up on what
Yeah,
you were saying about events, and just the background of that being our new
yeah,
system called Neon. Events were one of the many kind of key drivers why we wanted better software, was to be able to do a better job with those. I'm loving just being able, not that I've done it each time, but just being able to follow up after support groups. And yeah, being able to get numbers on, how many people are getting involved in different things helps us know, what are we doing well? What could we do better? What are we doing that's feeling relevant to people? What do we need to reach out and get more feedback on? And that's something we just hope everyone will feel free to let us know. We'd like to know what people want, and where we can fill in any other gaps.
yeah. I think I just had a request this week for corneal transplant group.
Oh, yeah.
So I think we said we would kind of gauge interest on that.
Yeah.
Good time to check in on our different subjects and make sure people are feeling represented with the support groups that we're offering. Man, I had a thought and then I lost it. Oh, just the scheduling events has been a lot easier for me too in the end, which is a small win. So it's been good. All right.
Yeah. When we're a thinly staffed organization, and so being able to do stuff efficiently matters a lot to us. We like good software.
Did you want to talk about the literature we've been making, or do you want me to take a stab?
Go for it.
Yeah, so we're designing a couple things, a sales sheet and a brochure to take to our conferences where we'll be exhibiting at the optometry and the ophthalmology annual meetings next month. I've kind of taken the lead on the brochure, and Rebecca's been working on the one-pager for doctors. And it's been an exercise with a few iterations. I think we've completed like our second or third session, and man, just designing something that will be accessible and eye-catching enough to be in a doctor's office. So it's kind of a patient-oriented brochure and doctor-oriented sheet just about the program that we can offer to programs that we can offer to patients to let doctors know about.
The one pager is designed at just an explanation, sharing with doctors why we'd like them to refer people to the Dry Eye Foundation when they have dry eye patients that are struggling in some way, just what all we can offer. And the idea there just being we're trying to be a support and a complement to their efforts. So hopefully some of their dry eye patients that they know are struggling the most will not be walking in the door with such a large burden that they're placing entirely on the doctor's shoulders, but to narrow that down so the doctor can kind of focus on the medical stuff while we can hopefully provide support and education and emotional support and so forth on all these other fronts to kind of share the burden of the dry eye world. And the brochure's been quite some time coming. We're excited to be there. Having this commitment to go to these conferences was really the final motivation that we needed to sit down and do it. But it's hard because we do all this in-house and just kind of squeezing it into small amounts of time. And I'm always expecting lots from Ada, not even just the production side, which is a lot of work, just trying to design and produce these sorts of things. But then, yeah, refining language. And it just, whenever you're kind of trying to put your organization into words, it really makes you think hard about what it is you do and what that means to other people. So it's been a good process, I think, for us.
Thank God for Canva. Don't have to use Adobe anymore.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah. All right. I had a couple. Do you have other things?
No,
Hayden?
I think that covers it.
All right. I had a couple of things from a couple weeks ago that I wanted to just circle back to, totally unconnected things. There were a couple studies I ran across that I wanted to spend a little more time with, and I finally this morning spent a little more time with them, but I still do want to circle back, even though I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail. The one was just this update on salivary gland transplantation technology and where things were at. It's not a subject I've kept up with, but it is something that I had been interested in way back in the beginning. And just, it's interesting to see how things evolve over the years, where they've gotten to and where they haven't. Because I remember a lot of people were excited about it years ago and thinking this is going to be the answer to severe dry eye. And it's an interesting mixture of results. So like there's these two different types that they were comparing, submandibular and minor salivary gland transplantations. And on the submandibular, they had some pretty dramatic results with, being able to increase the tear flow, the tear volume, and the tear stability hugely, but it's got some pretty significant downsides. It produces hypoosmolar tears, which means it can actually cause edema in the cornea. And that was a little astonishing because it said up to 40% of eyes may have that. And also just hypersecretion. So eyes running and just way too much tears over the long term. That was 24 to 60%. So it's like you can get a lot, but that may mean too much, which can have unwanted impact. And then the other one, the minor salivary gland transplantation, was a much smaller improvement. So like improving a Schirmer score by 2 to 4 millimeters, as opposed to like 16 or more with the submandibular. But then maybe not as much on the side effect side too. And but where they came down to in the abstract, the bottom line was both of these can actually really improve quality of life for people that have debilitating disease, but there's still issues there to work out. I just like when I come across these things that are hyper technical, that they do end up ultimately focusing on the question of quality of life, because really that's what it's all about. And we're all navigating these medical choices about what will give me enough incremental benefit to make my life better without introducing too many new things that could at the same time make it worse. It's just navigating that delicate balance. You want to post that link somewhere?
Yeah, I posted it there. I didn't know if you wanted me to show it or.
Oh, that's all right.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so the other one, and this one, I know I'm going to be chewing on this for a while. And if I were still in my blogging days, I know I'd probably be blogging about this a lot. I'm not sure if I'm going to get that much time to do that this time. It was this study about post-refractive pain after laser eye surgeries and so on. And the thing that had caught my eye, and I had seen it just before our Dry Eye Foundation Live a couple of weeks ago, was it looked like it was basically saying a huge number of the people that go to an eye doctor to get help for dry eye after refractive surgery really had ocular pain. It wasn't about dryness, or they might have dryness as well, but ocular pain was the primary issue. And just seeing that be more recognized is important, way beyond the world of refractive surgery. How do we draw this line between dryness, something wrong with our tear film, and pain, which may or may not be caused by something wrong with our tear film? The folks that have diagnosed neuropathic corneal pain know exactly what I'm talking about. There's just a whole lot of coincidence, say, of dry eye and pain, and where you've got a lot more pain than seems to be easily explained by the degree of dryness. That's where we tend to be most suspicious about it, but it doesn't mean that's the only sort of case where it's happening. Anyway, to put this in context, I think I mentioned a few weeks ago the FDA coming out with some new guidance on LASIK, and this was all over the news for a little bit. These things die down fast. They came out with some new labeling recommendations for LASIK, and I've been working my way through that, and just that's a pretty emotional process. This has been such a long time coming. I mean, LASIK started in the 90s, and it was done off-label for several years on the excimer lasers that were used for PRK before the first laser was approved to do LASIK specifically. And then, I mean, that was just has always been a huge market. It's a very popular procedure because it brings quick results with less downtime and doesn't have all the pain and everything associated with the slower healing that earlier procedures had. But it's been well over 20 years to get us to this point where I've taken tabs, just kind of kept track of what else going on out there, what are the struggles people are having from this, and finally circle back to the labeling on the devices. 20, 25 years after those devices were approved, that labeling, stays out there permanently. It generally doesn't change. Here, this is finally changing, and they've put some really significant new things in it, which I hope are going to make their way into more conversations between doctors and patients before people get LASIK. Could you post the link to the FDA guidance?
I posted the middle one. I can post the download too, or?
Yeah, that would be great. Cool. They just have a lot of interesting, strong new statements. And one of the ones that I found really interesting was, find the right page on here. This list of course, this isn't final. I mean, it's subject to input and all of that. It was a draft, but this list of things that says when you should consider not having LASIK. And all these warnings and things. And, that was a really big gripe that a lot of us have always had with the LASIK industry, because we've said, well, gosh, nobody told me this or that. And, maybe there's things in a form we signed somewhere, but that's really different than having a medical professional explain to you that this could actually happen to you or what it means if it does. So anyway, on that list of when you should consider not having LASIK, the first thing on the list is moderate or mild dry eyes. And it says, if you have dry eyes, LASIK can worsen dryness, discomfort, and blurred vision. This may or may not get better. And mentions other conditions that could put you at greater risk and all that. It says, make sure your LASIK doctor checks you for dry eyes before having LASIK. Kind of about time that we say something like that. But the interesting thing to me is mild or moderate dry eyes. I mean, that describes an awful lot of the people that are in the demographic that typically goes for LASIK. And that's not, I mean, they're not going to come out ever with a list that says, don't do LASIK if. They're going to say, have a conversation with your doctor if. And mild dry eyes have never really seriously been thought of as a contraindication. It's more of a, yeah, let's get you some extra treatment for that maybe, and more of a, let's treat your dry eye because that could affect the visual outcome from the surgery, but not, hey, you might want to consider not doing it because you have mild dry eye. I mean, the truth is an awful lot of the people that get LASIK, this has always been true, are the contact lens wearers who become intolerant of contacts because they have dry eye, but they don't want to go back to glasses. That's a huge part of the LASIK market. So to say people with mild dry eyes or moderate dry eyes maybe not want to do this, that was a pretty big breakthrough. Anyway, I will have more, I'm sure, other days to say about that. Still working through it, but interesting reading. All right, that's all I've got on that end. I'm sure there'll be some more kind of industry news and studies next week. And
Great.
next week is already September, and not too long after that, we're going to be hitting the road.
Yeah.
Conferences.
Yeah. So 2 groups next week that I can think of off the top of my head. Mandy's mental health group, she moved from Labor Day to to this upcoming Monday, the 29th at 10 a.m. Pacific. And then Rebecca, you're hosting the RCE group, recurrent corneal erosion group, at 4 p.m. Pacific, Tuesday the 30th. So those are coming up. Thanks, Rebecca, for hosting those, stepping in while Ann and Teresa, have been away. I think that should be it. I mean, I'll post the link to dryfoundation.org, dryfoundation.org/calendar, and our number 800-484-0244. Thanks for the updates about the studies. I feel like I learned a little, and I'm looking forward to more of the salivary gland talk. All right.
All right. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Yeah.